So, the question that I gave you there this week was a more complicated version. Have you been doing the questions so far that we had done? You were used to calculating based off of, whatever depreciation is 15% per year. The rest of this question was relatively the same, but it's the beginning which causes us a little bit more work. So again, just as you would have seen in the class lesson, in the last lesson we looked at this question, Euro LTD, which I'll be finishing off in our next class. I gave you this one for homework. So this is the same scenario where we have straight line depreciation over 5 years. So this is 5 years or total years for depreciation, and scrap value is 10% of the original cost. So you have to calculate that if I own a vehicle, after 5 years, it'll be worth scrap value down to 10%. So over the course of 5 years, it's going to basically lose 90% of its value. And you need to define the depreciation for each year equally. So just to show an example of that, this is how again we go through it. The cost of the truck, which in the first case is 50,000. The scrap value is calculated at 10%. We're told of that here. So to find the scrap value of that, we just multiply by 10%, and it's 5,000. And again, total depreciation is over 5 years. So I have all this information here. Now I just divide the total depreciation by the number of years. So if the cost is 50,000 minus the scrap value of 5,000, which is calculated here, my total depreciation is 45 grand. So it's going to lose 45,000 euro worth of its value over 5 years. So divided by 5 years, we find that truck number 1 will depreciate by 9,000 per year. Again, take the cost. We minus the scrap value. It says it up here, and the scrap value is 10% in this case, and I had found that here. Cost minus scrap value is equal to the total depreciation, and divide that by the years, 5 years, 9,000. Figure that out for one. If you're not sure, pause, rewind, take your time, look through the question, figure out where these figures are coming from. Rewatch this if you can, because once you figure out the first one, the other 4 are following the exact same pattern. The only other difference you'll ever have is that if you do not have it for a full year, so example, the first vehicle was purchased 6 months into the year, so we did not have it for the first 6 months. So truck number 1 will depreciate by 9,000 a year as we calculated, except for 2014, which is the first year, because we only had it for 6 months. We had it for July to December. So again, 6 months depreciation instead of the year's depreciation, 4,500 for that year. So the only exception to what we've done is if you do not have it for a full year, then you just multiply it by the months divided by 12. Again, cost minus the scrap value, which is 10%, and that's basically your 90%, and divide your 90% by the years, and you'll find the depreciation per year. So truck 2, 55 grand minus the scrap value, which is again 10% of that, gives me my 90%. It's the value of total depreciation divided by the years, 5 years, is 9,900. I've done the same thing again. Cost minus scrap value, total depreciation divided by years. Cost minus scrap value, total depreciation divided by 5 years. I'm going to explain vehicle number 3 later on. There's, I suppose, a little changeover down here to do with truck number 3. We'll go through it in detail later on. So I found the total depreciation per year using the scrap value method. As normal now, we'll just look at our table. Basically, as normal, we're filling in our costs. These are all our years, and we need to find, because the question is for 2 years, 2018 and 19, we need to find what the total depreciation would be at the beginning of 2018 here. So let's find all these years. Vehicle number 1, truck number 1, again we found the total depreciation is 9,000. We only had it for 6 months of the first year, so the first year is 4,500. I had it for all of 15, 16 and 17. So the depreciation is 9,000 for each of those years. The fridge, which we have attached to vehicle number 1, was purchased at the beginning of 2016. The fridge cost 8,000, but there was an installing cost of 1,600. I'm going to add the installing cost on. So the cost of the fridge is 9,600. Its depreciation is at 30% per annum, and there's no other details. So to get the depreciation for the fridge, it's just the cost multiplied by 30%. We had it from all of 2016 and all of 17. So it's 2880 per year. That's the total for the 2 years. Vehicle number 2, again, cost minus scrap value is equal to the total depreciation divided by the years. We found it was 9,900 per year. For this vehicle number 2, we did not have it for the first 4 months of 2015. So therefore, the remaining 8 months is just simply 9,900 multiplied by 8 divided by 12 months. That gives me 6600, and obviously it had it for the full year in 16 and 17, so it's my full year's depreciation. It gives me 26,400. And vehicle number 3, again, the cost is 70 grand. We had our scrap value, we took it away, divided by the 5 years, 12,600 per year. Now vehicle number 3 was purchased after 5 months had gone. So I'm not going to put in the full year's depreciation because I didn't have it for all of 2017. So 12,600. I only had it for the last 7 months. So 12,600 multiplied by 7 divided by 12 gives me 7,350. And again, I only purchased that in 2017 and I had it for the last 7 months. So once I put in all these depreciations, I go across and this is my total here. I can then total this column to give me 71,010. That's my total depreciation as the question starts. Apart from that, I have all of the trucks and fridge that I had purchased prior to the question starting. They add up to 184,600. Those two figures in bold are important. Apart from that, all we have to do is look at what happened that year. So for that year, after 9 months of the year was passed, truck number 1 was traded in and new truck was purchased, 75,000. So that's our new truck, 75,000. So truck number 1, the fridge is also gone. We had information about that there, and the trade-in allowance we'll look at after. So 9 months had passed and we sold truck number 1. So for 2018, when I'm doing my depreciation for truck number 1, I'm going to take the depreciation per year, which was here, and I'm going to basically multiply it by 9 and divide it by 12. In other words, I'm getting 9/12 of 9,000. And that gives me 6750, because if 9,000 is depreciation for the full year, I did not have it for the full year. I only had it for 9 of the 12 months. Therefore, you get the 9/12 of this, giving me 6750. I do the same thing with the fridge. My total depreciation with the fridge is our cost, 9600 multiplied by 30%. And once I multiply that by 9 over 12, it gives me 2160. So that's the depreciation in 2018 for both the vehicle 1 and the fridge. I didn't have either of them after that, so their total depreciation on disposal is the depreciation prior to 18 plus the 9 months from 2018. Once I add those both up for each vehicle, they're the totals, and because they come together, I've just simply added them together. For 2018, vehicle number 2, nothing happened to it throughout the year, so I take its normal depreciation, 9,900. Vehicle number 3, nothing happened to it in 2018, so I take its normal depreciation of 12,600. And vehicle number 4 we just purchased. So we purchased it, once we sold this guy, we purchased it and there was only 3 months left remaining, October, November and December. So if it's vehicle number 3, again we found total depreciation to be 13,500 per year. I only had it for 3 months, so multiply by 3 divided by 12. And that gives me 3375. So that's the depreciation for vehicle number 4 for 2018. Add up all of these, they're all the depreciation for 2018, and this is my total, 34785. That's my total for 2018. That's 18 done. Very last part of the question is look at 2019. What happened here? Well, there's a little bit of confusing part here. Truck number 3 underwent an annual service and the cost of the company was 5,500. So it looks like we've added to the value of truck number 3. Just to explain this, if you have a car or you have a truck, you have a machine or something like that, if you add on something like a fridge unit, if you improve the original function of that car machine, if you change anything about the original function of the car machine, then you can increase the value of it. But a service is basically just fixing the wear and tear. You know, if you get a service for, you know, your car might get service, you'll change the oil filter, you'll change the tires, something like that. So you're not actually improving the original value of the car. You're just fixing things that have gone wrong. So you can't add this onto the original value. In other words, I have a Toyota car, it's worth a couple of thousand and not much more. If I get that serviced every year and I spend €400 every single year on servicing it, I can't add all of those €400 up to the original price and say I've increased the value of my car. I was just paying for servicing. I was just paying for essentially minor repairs on a continuous basis. So this is actually a little trick line. This 5,500 does not come into the first three parts of this question. We'll look at it at the very end, but it doesn't come into either of our accounts. So I'm going to completely ignore it. Just basically ignore that line for now. So truck number 3, we're not, the original cost of it is 70,000. I'm not increasing it by 5,500. I'm leaving it alone. Again, because the service did not add to the original value. So for the rest of this paragraph, in the beginning of December, we sold a truck number 3, because we sold this truck. So truck number 3 was sold at the beginning of December, and we purchased a new one costing 82 grand. So this is our new truck here. So we had truck number 3 for 11 months of 2019. So if we go back to it here, truck number 3 has 12,600 depreciation per year. I only had it for 11 months of the year, so multiplied by 11 divided by 12, and my depreciation for this truck for 2019 is 11,550. I purchased that final truck for 82 grand. I only had it for 1 month, so 82 grand is the original value of the truck. Its scrap value is 10%. Take that away, that's my 90%. It's essentially the total depreciation. Divide that by 5 years, and that's how much depreciation I have per year on truck 5. But I only had it for 1 month of the year. So 14,760 represents 12 months. I'm going to multiply it by 1 divided by 12. Essentially, you're dividing that by 12 to get just December. And it's 1230. So all of my depreciation for the vehicles I had in 2019 is here. If I add them all together, it gives me 36180. And again, at the very end of that question, we'll just look here to see that we sold vehicle number 3 as well. So let's add up these 3 lines, the 7,000, 12,000, 11,000, and in total it gives me €31,500. So the total depreciation for vehicle number 3. So again, just a quick recap. All I've done, as usual for my accounts here, is just find the depreciation for each year, add up the depreciation at the beginning of the year that we're focusing on, which is 2018, and add up the costs of everything I owned at the 1st of the 1st 2018, which is only these 3 vehicles in the fridge. If you sell something, you find the total depreciation on the item you've sold. In other words, for vehicle number 1 and the fridge, it's 46,170, and truck number 3, which we sold as well, total depreciation was 3,500. The only other figures that you need are the total depreciations each year. That's 2019's, that's 2018's, and that's the beginning of the question. And just finally, for a quick recap, for the scrap value method, which, as you remember from the previous questions, they just told us that depreciation is 15% per year, and we just straight away went at it. We don't have to worry. But for this question and the question I showed the last time, it's a little different. You have to find the cost, which we have here for the first one to be 50 grand. We've defined the scrap value is 10%, so I'll get 10% of 50 grand is 5 grand. Take that away. So the cost minus the scrap value, which is your, in this case is 10%, and you're left with how much the total depreciation is over the course of how many years, and it's 5 years. So total depreciation in that case would be 45 grand. I divide the total depreciation by the 5 years, by the number of years, it gives me the depreciation per year. Again, that's shown here. Once you've done that once, it's the same for every single one. And the only other difference is if you have to count up the months for 1 year, you multiply the months that you had it for in that year and divide it by 12. So that's the corrections for the homework that you had for this week. We have a live class on Tuesday and Friday next week. So for the remaining 2 weeks before the Easter break, we'll have live classes at our normal scheduled time. So I will chat to you in those classes. Thanks for listening.